Good afternoon, and thank you so much, everyone, for being here today. I'm Jacob Frey. I'm the mayor of Minneapolis, and I'm really proud to be joined by our two extraordinary co-chairs of this Government Structure Commission in J.J. Haywood, as well as Kathleen O'Brien. I'll get to some of their CV very shortly and all the wonderful work that they've done in Minneapolis over a number of years, as well as their expertise around the particular docket that will be covered here over the next several months. But we're here to talk about the work ahead regarding question number one, the government structure amendment that would make Minneapolis have a clear executive system in the mayor and a clear legislative system in the council. November 2nd was indeed a very good day for Minneapolis, and specifically a very good day for good governance. And we want to make sure that this vision for efficiency and efficacy of government is entirely realized. This is an incredibly important moment in our city in that we are indeed setting up an entirely new government form. This is the kind of thing that does not happen every day. This is a once in a many generation opportunity to really do things differently for the sake of our residents. Let me first take a step back to explain what this means practically for residents of the city of Minneapolis and how governments are structured in both large and small cities throughout the country. So traditionally speaking, there are two forms of government throughout our country. There is the traditionally weak mayor or strong council system that you will see in most every single small town and city throughout Minnesota and throughout the country. That is where you've got a mayor that sits on the council. Usually both the mayor and the council are part-time or non-paid. The mayor holds the gavel, is a member of the city council, and a city manager basically runs the show. That's the traditionally weak mayor system. Then you have the traditionally strong mayor system of government, or the clear executive and clear legislative form, which is where you have clarity. You have a clear executive in the mayor, you have a clear legislative body in the council, and there's an obvious understanding as to who is in charge over what. And then you have the system that Minneapolis has had in place for like 120 years. That system is confusing, it's vague, it's gray, it results in people arguing almost as much about who has the authority as they do of the substance of the issue involved. It's been problematic, and you've had some mayors going all the way back to Hubert Humphrey and before that have advocated to make this very important change, and now we are at a moment where the change by the voters themselves has been made. And recognizing the importance of this change, we wanted to get the best possible minds from a diversity of backgrounds and perspectives at the table to help us set up this new government. Yes, of course, we have an extraordinary team here at City Hall that will be doing the important internal work to get this new government set up. Also importantly, we want the right people externally. We want the opportunity to hear from individuals who've had long-standing experience working in government and with nonprofit institutions. We want people that are CEOs of local businesses. We want people that have a deep understanding as to how reporting functions and how best to set up a system that works and is efficient. And that's how we went about finding the best possible people for this commission. At the end of the day, this is about clarity. This is about creating a government that works for everyone in our city, that is responsive, that is effective, that is compassionate, and creates a platform and a fabric for individuals here at City Hall to work professionally with one another. That is a big part of what this does now. We want to get this set up, and we want to do it right. Now, I'm really appreciative of the two co-chairs that are here with me. First, I want to turn it over to J.J. Haywood. J.J. is the CEO of Pizza Luce, which is now an institution here in the city of Minneapolis. We got 3 locations here. She's got other locations throughout the state, and we are just so thrilled to have her here. Her experience in entrepreneurship, her willingness to think outside the box, and her deep commitment to Minneapolis is foremost as to why we wanted her on this particular committee as a co-chair. We're deeply appreciative, and I'll turn it over to J.J. Haywood. Please.
Thank you, Mayor Frey. I am super humbled and appreciative to serve as a co-chair of this commission. I think this is super important work for the future of Minneapolis, and for us to have the opportunity to act upon the voters' will to help change and clarify our city's governance process. I'm looking forward to working with Kathleen and the rest of the group on these important issues. Thank you.
Thank you so much, JJ, and for your work in the city and on behalf of this commission. Next, I want to invite up Kathleen O'Brien, who has been a mainstay in the city of Minneapolis, broadly speaking, for decades now. She was a city coordinator here at the city, was a city council member, was vice president of a number of affairs, non-education specific, over at the University of Minnesota, and between the city and the university has been doing some really incredible work for a very long time. We're so glad to have her experience and expertise on this particular commission. Kathleen.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm honored and gratified to have the opportunity to serve the people of Minneapolis once again. My family came to Minnesota and to Minneapolis in 1870 to build the railroad. And they would have hardly imagined that I would have had the opportunity to serve the city as I have. And I want to make sure that we use this opportunity with our new governance structure, that everyone who comes to the city has similar opportunities. The people of Minneapolis really did their homework. We had the largest turnout of any election on record, and they said clearly that we needed to strengthen our government structure. This is an opportunity to make sure our city is just and safe and well managed for everyone, and that everyone has the opportunity that my family had when they came to the city of Minneapolis. So I'm really pleased to have an opportunity to work with the mayor and my co-chair, JJ, and I think about the other distinguished members on our committee to help advise the mayor and city government as we move into this great opportunity. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you so much, Kathleen. With that, we'll open it to any questions that you might have. I realize this is both nuanced and complex, and we're happy to answer any questions.
I'll start, if you don't mind.
Please.
If I ask like 5 in a row. How's it going to work? Like, you have this, how many are on the commission? Is it 12 or 10? I'm not sure how many, if I counted right. You're going to meet, you're going to talk about like priorities. Are you going to have someone sort of helping facilitate what the agenda is? And then how do you get that to him? Do you know what I mean? I'm just almost talking about the logistics. I get it, the commission to help it run better and clarity, but like, what is it actually going to look like?
Yeah, it's a really good question. So the question is, how does the commission itself function? How are they going to set out their targets and the goals? I'll start off, and if either one of you want to chime in, feel free. First, I don't want to presuppose the outcomes themselves from a substantive perspective. That would eliminate the entire purpose of getting these commissions set up to begin with. But I will tell you what I am looking for generally. What I am looking for is a series of informed recommendations. And what I mean by that is, if you look at the scope of options under this clear executive, clear legislative system, if you look at other cities, Duluth, St. Paul, Chicago, New York, they all have this system, but there are important differences between them. Some of them have a deputy mayor system. Some of them have a chief administrative officer. Some of them have an entirely different system altogether. And so what I want to see are a series of options. I want to see positives and negatives associated with each so that we're able to chart a very clear and informed path forward. Now, importantly, there's always going to be a balance between getting this right and getting this done in expedient fashion. I'm going to err on the side of getting it right. Given the magnitude of these decisions and giving the long-standing importance of, or the long-standing ramifications of what these decisions will mean, we got to do it right. And I'll also note that if you look at the situation and the solidifying of any new government, it will take some time. There'll be decisions that can be made in the immediacy, and I think people will see the work happening, and hopefully they'll see the benefit of those decisions in the form of a more efficient government. There will be other decisions that quite simply will take longer. There will be things that probably need to be changed, too. So we're open to all of that. We want to do this right. As far as the what are they going to do specifically, I think you're right. We're looking at, I think it's about 11 people that we have on the commission in total. So you said 10 to 12, right around there.
When do you guys start?
And I'll let them jump into that. I'm not going to dictate their specific schedule or anything. We are looking for some of these recs to come out early next year. Importantly, the shift to this new system takes place on December 3rd. And so the reporting as of that date will shift. However, the long-term and midterm sort of cementation of this work will take longer.
So I have to ask about this shift idea,
And
because it makes that pretty soon, the shift. December 3rd, did you say?
December 3rd is the date when the reporting itself technically changes.
And that means, for example, I think in the whole campaign process, when talking to the charter chair, somebody interviewed him and I heard him talk about now, if you're a public works director, you have to get approval from all 13 council members and the mayor to get something done. That will change
That's
then on the 3rd.
Yes, that for the most part is correct. I think it's important to distinguish what this does do and what it doesn't do. What this does do is say that the department heads, certainly on a daily basis in an executive fashion, report to the mayor. So like every other level of government, like the state government, like the federal government, and like most all mid-sized and large cities throughout the country, the mayor can have a cabinet of people that he can provide, or she can provide, or they can provide direction to on a daily basis. Now, very importantly, legislation is very much solidified with the council. The council should legislate. They should deliberate. They should engage with a broad set of stakeholders throughout the city. They should do constituent services. And so, this very much is about creating clarity as to who does what. And so whereas previously, as you mentioned, the department head would have to get, or would get permission from 13 different council members and the mayor, or the executive committee, that won't be the case going forward. Did you have something you wanted to add as to how you wanted to set up the commission itself? Yeah.
Yeah, how you see.
I saw you make a motion, so I wanted to.
How you see you might help this process, or if that's your.
I'm looking forward to really designing that with my co-chair, JJ, but I would say the most effective process is where we really make sure we're getting good information, but also we're hearing from each of us. Yeah. So, really and that's what's good about 11 or 12 member committee. We'll really be able to sit around the table, get the information, and then have every person in round robin fashion, contribute to our deliberations, our discernment, and our recommendation to the mayor. It's very helpful for the mayor to say, we don't want a recommendation, we want you to assess some options, because as we know, there's no perfect system, but there are systems that have certain strengths, and certainly Minneapolis has real needs today in terms of the issues we need to address. So if we want economic resilience, safety, and addressing the issues of climate change in our city, we need to get the governance of our city right. And that's what we'll be advising the mayor on.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, with the way things were, did you feel like you were administering with your hands tied and forward, this is, you know, how much will this improve on maybe where it wasn't there in the past?
I think there were deficiencies. And those deficiencies are not the result of necessarily of personalities. They're not the result of politics. They're the result of a structure of government that has for decades and generations limped along during good times and during rough times to mess. And you need an executive to have the ability on short notice to call the department heads into their office, city attorney, chief of police, city coordinator, etc., and to say, all right, we got something that needs to happen next week or tomorrow or the next day. You know, you do this, you do that, you do the other thing, you do this, go. And we've done that countless times, especially countless times over these last couple years. But the very first question that is almost always asked is, well, what is the council going to do? Or what is the council member of that particular area going to say? And then the mayor, whoever that may be, is stuck with a fork in the road. They either bulldoze forward with whatever they think is the right thing to do, and hopefully nobody questions them, or two, they have to navigate their way through a very complex set of politics that is a city council. Importantly, I said a city council, not this one, any city council. That is the dynamic. And it just doesn't work. And that's part of what I think we need to change. And that's part of what the change the voters have bestowed upon this government.
If anyone else don't, got time for one more? Okay. This will be a good one.
Yeah, make it pull together, consult each other, and then ask your best question.
The fact that you have how many new city council members, is this an opportune time to do something like this with this sort of, not fresh slate, but fresh slate? I mean, you have to learn how to work together with different people. And does this help or hurt the general sense of what you're setting out to do?
Well, first off, the general sense of what we're trying to do right now is come to unity of mindset and direction within the city. Now, importantly, unity does not mean unity. Unity does not mean that we all agree all the time on every single issue, because God knows we won't. I'll tell you right now, we will have disagreements. We'll probably have adamant disagreements. By the way, that's a good thing. That is part of what democracy is about. However, this helps in that those disagreements don't need to be about who has the authority to act. There's more clarity there. You don't need to have this weird jockeying for position around who does what. There's just more clarity about that now. This is about clarity. And that's important. That is important in any form of government. And when it's lacking, the product lacks. The response to residents is lacking. And so I'm super optimistic both for the setup of this new government. I'm very optimistic for the new government that will come in the form of the new council. You know, I've reached out at this point, I believe, to every one of them. You know, we want to sit down. We want to work together. This is a moment when our city is looking for unity and collaboration, and I think that this amendment will aid in that.
Okay, that's what we've got. Thank you
Great.
so much, everybody.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thank you, everybody.